Radio. Promoting dialogue.
It's midday in Dakar and Niamey and 1 p.m. in Lagos. Good afternoon and welcome to Newslink, live on West Africa Democracy Radio, 94.9 FM Dakar and online at wadr.org. First, our top stories. Authorities in Mali urge vigilance as relative calm returns to major cities hit in Saturday's terrorist attacks.
We saw cooperation between civilians and the army in Kati and other cities to stop the terrorists.
Abidjan's criminal court hands light prison sentences to 7 suspects over the 2020 Kafolo attack. Liberian Armed Forces kicks off a nationwide recruitment exercise to boost security sector.
I've been waiting for this process for a very long time. I want to join the army actually to defend the state.
I'm here for the AFL recruitment, just to serve and protect my country, that's all.
And Senegalese National Assembly set to debate 4 draft bills, including those on political and electoral reforms. Please stay tuned for details of the stories and more.
On the news, this is a more edit.
Many thanks for joining our broadcast. Newslink begins in Mali with updates as it marks its second day of national mourning following the attacks on Saturday that left several people dead, including Defense Minister General Sadio Kamara. Many soldiers and civilians were also injured. However, this Tuesday, life is slowly returning to normal in Bamako, Kati, and other affected towns except in the northern city of Kidal. In Bamako and beyond, residents are navigating a fragile mix of fear and resilience after the weekend's violence. Let's join Gosin Koli for the report.
After the coordinated terrorist attacks on Saturday, which claimed the life of Defense Minister Sadio Kamara, emotions remain high in Bamako.
Personally, I see it as a deep betrayal and serious negligence that has cost our nation dearly. Losing a defense minister is no small matter.
3 days on, fear and mistrust still linger, following the attack that targeted the heart of Malian power and key military bases across the country.
We saw cooperation between civilians and the army in Kati and other cities to stop the terrorists. That's a sign of hope. It shows the people stand with the army and the government.
At the same time, calls for resilience are growing among the population.
For General Sadio Kamara, for his family, and for all those who lost their lives, Malians are ready to defend their country to the very end.
While daily life is gradually returning to normal in Bamako, as well as Sivari and Gao, the security situation remains fragile in Kidal, currently under the control of the Azawad Liberation Front, which continues to push for independence in the north.
Augustine Kohli with that report by Makan Fofana from WDL's partner radio in Bamako. In the meantime, former Ivorian President Laurent Gbagbo has strongly condemned the recent attacks in Mali. In a statement, the leader of the PPACI reacted to the coordinated assaults on several cities, describing them as cowardly and barbaric acts. The attacks claimed by the Azawad Liberation Front and JNRM left several people dead and injured, including Defense Minister General Sadio Kamara. Gbagbo concluded with a recommendation for new approaches, including the establishment of an African counterterrorism force to tackle the growing security crisis across the Sahel. In Côte d'Ivoire, the criminal court on Monday handed down a long-awaited verdict in the Kafolo terrorist attack trial. Including the process that began weeks ago, 21 defendants were acquitted, 6 were sentenced to life imprisonment, and 17 others received 20-year jail terms. The ruling comes nearly 6 years after the June 2020 terror attack that claimed the lives of several Ivorian soldiers. The judgment also marks a significant moment for victims and the nation's fight against terrorism. Francis Boniface reports.
The Abidjan Criminal Court's Anti-Terrorism Chamber on Monday handed down heavy sentences in the case of the Kafolo attack. The assault in June 2020 by gunmen reportedly from neighboring Burkina Faso left at least 14 Ivorian soldiers dead. The attack was claimed by the Katiba Masina. However, after years of investigation, 4 to 5 suspects stood trial. 6 have been sentenced to life in prison, while 17 others received 20 years jail terms. Two of the accused admitted to the charges during the proceedings. Prosecutors had pushed for tough penalties, while the defense argued that several of the accused were wrongly implicated and called for acquittals due to insufficient evidence. Those convicted now have 20 days to appeal. With this ruling, Ivorian authorities said they are sending a strong message of zero tolerance for terrorism, closing a painful chapter in the country's recent security history.
Francis Boniface filed a report more on security, but this time in Ghana's Upper East region, as a military escorted convoy carrying civilians along the volatile Baku-Bol-Gatanga route has come under a deadly attack. The incident, which occurred at Bindufiri, left 3 civilians dead and several others injured, raising fresh concerns over security in the troubled Baku enclave. WDL's Accra correspondent Nadi Ditete reports.
The Ghana Armed Forces say the incident occurred on Monday, April 27 at Binduri in the Upper East region when unknown gunmen opened fire on a convoy transporting about 140 civilians from Boku to Bolgatanga. The convoy, moving along a known flashpoint, was reportedly attacked multiple times, resulting in casualties among those escorted. The military mounted a swift response, repelling the attackers and killing 7 of them in the process. In a follow-up operation, security personnel recovered a G3 rifle, ammunition, and other items from one of the fleeing suspects. 10 suspects have been arrested and are assisting with investigations. The Ghana Armed Forces has cautioned the public against interfering with ongoing operations as efforts continue to stabilize the area. The latest incident highlights the volatile security situation in part of the Upper East region, particularly around the Boko enclave, where there are tensions despite ongoing interventions. For WDR, Nadidi Tete, Accra.
More stories coming up on West Africa Democracy Radio. Newslink continues.
In Nigeria, suspected Boko Haram fighters attacked and killed at least 30 people in the northeastern state of Adamawa. The attack, which occurred on Sunday evening, has since ignited fears in Hong and Gumbi local government areas of the state. Meanwhile, another faction linked to the group has issued a new ultimatum over dozens of kidnapped victims in Kwara State, adding to the growing anxiety among affected families. Correspondent Yechin Sastichu reports.
Local sources say the attackers stormed communities in Hong and Gumbi, killing residents, injuring several others, and destroying properties in coordinated assaults. Reacting, Governor of Adamawa State, Umaru Fintiri, says security personnel have been deployed to the affected areas to restore calm.
The security are overstretched and they can't be everywhere, but they are ensuring that the general area is dominated. The military are already here and they will continue to be here. Whatever that they need to be here, we will support them with.
The attacks highlight the continued threat posed by insurgent groups operating around the Sambisa Forest region, leaving rural communities vulnerable. Meanwhile, in a separate development in Kwara State, gunmen holding 176 kidnapped victims have demanded a ransom of 20 million naira per person. Families say the kidnappers have issued a 1-week ultimatum threatening to kill the captives if their demands are not met. Security analyst Olumayowa Olani says one way to win the fight against insurgency is to leverage intelligence gathering.
One of the most critical components of Nigeria winning this battle, winning this war against insurgency, against banditry, any of the challenges that we have is intelligence gathering. And of course, because of the deployment of technology, now we have drones, we have the Reaper staying above for hours, trying to gather intelligence. And of course, this intelligence translates to actual action.
Experts warn that the incidents reflect a growing pattern of coordinated attacks and kidnappings across northern Nigeria. They are calling for urgent intervention to protect communities and secure the release of those held captive. For WADR, Yechin Sastichu reporting.
The Armed Forces of Liberia has launched a nationwide recruitment drive aiming to enlist at least 600 new personnel by June 27. The exercise comes amid rising tensions along Liberia's border with Guinea, where foreign troops have reportedly been spotted on Liberian territory. Authorities say the move is part of effort to strengthen national defense as security concerns grow. But as WDR's Abraham Parker found on a visit to one of the centers on Monday, the turnout tells a deeper story, one driven more by rising unemployment than patriotism.
The recruitment drive is open to all Liberians aged between 18 and 35. Applicants are required to hold at least a high school diploma, be physically fit, and have no criminal record. At the Barclay Training Center in Monrovia, one of 4 designated recruitment sites, larger crowds gathered on day one, with many young people expressing a strong desire to join the ranks and help defend the nation against external threats.
I've been waiting for this process for a very long time. I want to join the army actually to defend the state.
What the people are doing, the line is too long and many, and they are taking their time in there.
I'm here for the AFL recruitment, just to serve and protect my country, that's all. Been here since 2 a.m. this morning.
The nationwide exercise aims to recruit 600 new personnel into the armed forces of Liberia, in addition to the at least 2,000 already serving. However, enthusiasm was immediate and overwhelming. More than 3,000 applicants turned out on the first day alone. While this reflects a strong patriotic interest, it also highlights persistent unemployment challenges among young people. Security experts and civil society groups have raised the concerns about possible health and safety risks linked to such large-scale gatherings. Despite this, the Military High Command has reassured the public that the process will be transparent, with selections based strictly on merit. For Newslink on WADR, Abraham Parker, Monrovia.
Away from Liberia, a 4-day training for the second batch of the Gambia Immigration Female Network known as GiveNet is underway in Banjul, the capital. The program focuses on gender, human rights, human trafficking, and migrant smuggling, parts of efforts to strengthen capacity and improve protection for vulnerable groups. Nearly 50 female officers from across the Gambia are taking part, with a strong emphasis on gender-sensitive approaches to migration management. WDL Sang reports.
The department say the training forms part of broader efforts to align with international human rights standards and improve frontline responses to increasingly complex migration challenges. Ole Jallo is Deputy Director of the Gambia Immigration Department.
This training enhances your capacity to identify victims, apply the national referral mechanisms, and ensures victim-centered right-based response.
The training comes at a time when concerns over irregular migration and human trafficking continue to shape national and regional policy discussions. Aissatou Dabo is Executive Director of the National Agency Against Trafficking in Persons.
Trafficking in persons continues to be a very important priority for the government of the Gambia under the 4P approach of prevention, protection, prosecution, and partnership.
This initiative also seeks to improve professional responses to transnational crimes and enhance protection for vulnerable individuals. Ambebola Adeyomi of United Nations Office on Drugs and Crime of West and Central Africa also addressed the gathering.
This initiative is addressing a real and practical need. It reflects the value of investing in partnership, coordination, and the capacities of frontline officers.
Trafficking in person and migrant smuggling still remain persistent challenges in the Gambia. The 4-day program is expected to provide pathways in strengthening collaboration and sustaining capacity building efforts within the department. For Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, I am Sangdana Mendy, reporting from Banjul.
You're listening to Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio 94.9 FM Dakar and online at wadr.org. Here is a reminder of our top stories. Authorities in Mali urge vigilance as relative calm returns to major cities hit in Saturday's terrorist attacks. Abidjan's criminal court hands life prison sentences to 7 suspects over the 2020 Kafolo attack. The Liberian Armed Forces kicks off a nationwide recruitment exercise to boost the security sector. And still ahead of the news, the Senegalese National Assembly set to debate 4 draft bills, including those on political and electoral reforms. We do have the press review a guest interview, and sports news. Please stay with us.
West Africa Democracy Radio. It's you speaking.
We are streaming live on wadr.org and also follow live streamings on YouTube and Facebook. Here in Senegal, 4 draft bills published by the presidency will today be presented at the National Assembly for debate. The bills were part of several proposed reforms that emerged from the national dialogues held in 2024 on justice and in 2025 on political reforms, which are now open to the public. The text proposed major changes, including the creation of an independent constitutional court, the establishment of an autonomous electoral body, a revision of the electoral code, and a restructuring of political party regulations. According to the presidency, the drafts reflect a synthesis of recommendations from nationwide consultations translated into legal text by experts and institutional committees. Authorities are now calling on political actors, civil society, legal experts, and citizens to engage with the reforms and contribute to the debate. In a statement, the head of state reaffirmed his commitment to dialogue and an inclusive reform process. In the meantime, ministers of aviation from Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger have announced the creation of an AES joint airline. This was announced at the conclusion of the 3rd Civil Aviation Days conference held in Niamey on April 12 to 21 and 22, 2026. The project is already generating some expectations among citizens. Christopher Teacher tells us more.
For millions of people across the Alliance of Sahel states, a proposed joint airline could soon make travel easier between Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger. The announcement comes as road travel becomes increasingly difficult due to ongoing security challenges in the 3 countries. In Niamey, many are already looking ahead. Baokesa is calling for high-quality service capable of competing with major international airlines. But turning the vision into reality will require significant financial investments. Economist Abube Mahaman Lawan says pooling resources will be key to making the project viable. Following the Niamey meeting that validated the plan, the leaders of the 3 countries now face the challenge of transforming the agreement into a functioning airline in Sahelian skies.
A report from our Niamey correspondent Yakuba Abibulai, presented there by Christopher Aticho.
This is the newspaper review. Stay abreast and find out what the top stories are in your country.
This is the newspaper review.
The newspaper review.
Well, joining us for the newspaper review is WDL's Ibrahim Parker in Monrovia.
This Tuesday's edition of Press Review features 4 local newspaper, and we begin with front-page Africa newspaper. Dispute deepens between War Crimes Court Office Chief and Justice Minister, casting cloud over progress. Well, according to front page, the chairman for the Office of the War Crimes Court has since accused the Justice Minister of Liberia of undermining the establishment of the court, as there is a clash between the minister and the chairman of OWED. Recruitment wahala and the forces of Liberia enlistment drive sparks debate after viral videos show some applicants struggling to read basic elementary sciences. Our next stop is the Heritage newspaper. With these stories, Central Bank of Liberia explains Liberian $79 billion printing plan. But the Heritage newspaper says that decision has been placed on hold by the Liberian Senate for proper examination. Councillor Jala Bapu of the World and Economic Crimes Code reappears in the Heritage newspaper, but the Heritage takes it from a different angle, where he sparks a leak of firestorm clash, this time with the chairman of Independent National Commission of Human Rights. And this paper is telling us that chairman of the INCHR accused Dr. Jala Bapu of mismanaging funds of the War Crimes Court, and that is the reason why the process is being delayed. The next up is the Analyst newspaper with these stories. Bouaka champions Africa peace leadership once youth agenda take center stage. Bolo remarks trickle inquest again. Senate faces has pressure over Senator Conan remarks. The Analyst newspaper is drawing a line between the removal of Representative Yeke Koloba, which was as a result of a remark made. Now, the Senate is now facing similar issue with the House of Representatives bringing a member of the Liberian Senate to check. Still on the Analyst, Representative Musa challenges lawmakers, wants constitutional disciplines, urges restore to people. Our last stop is the New Dawn News paper with these stories. Thousands spent nights on street as armed forces of Liberia opens 2026 recruitment drive. That does it for this edition of Press Review for Liberia's capital, Monrovia.
Many thanks, Abraham Parker, with the newspaper review.
Politics, analysis on major news, social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
Well, I guess interview turns to the Sahel, where communities are still mourning victims of the deadly coordinated attacks in Mali. The assault claimed by GNRM have drawn strong condemnation from governments as well as regional and international bodies, including ECOWAS, the African Union, and the United Nations. Across Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger, many are placing their hopes in the joint security framework of the Alliance of Sahel States. What security analysts are questioning how effective the bloc's unified force can be in preventing attacks like those of April 25. Dr. Oyewole Ojawale of the Institute for Security Studies shares insight into the challenges.
I think there's still a very long way to go, because when you form an alliance like that, you also need to fund the alliance. It's not, funding a military operation, funding a military task force now is not just about recruiting people. It's also a function of the technology, military hardware, and the surveillance capacity that is at their disposal. Yes, it's a commendable effort, but I think it still has a very long way to go, because there's a need for significant input. And that is the reason why I was talking about the fact that there's a need for cross-border cooperation on intelligence, fusion and sharing, on hardware, armament supply, which are really manufactured in Africa. So you cannot be talking to Russia alone. They need to broaden their, diversify their security partnership and cooperation.
But what does the recent attack in Mali, say in the last 72 hours, tells of the capacity, strength, and future of the AES standby force, or unified forces, as they call it?
So it is standby force, but event of last hours has also shown the capacity that the formation actually has to probably quell or at least proactively respond to such threats. So I think it is still an unfolding mechanism whose full ramification is going to be tested and ascertained in the coming days. But the security challenges in Central Sahel is complex, and then it requires reinforcement that goes beyond the Alliance of Sahel State, because they are principally drawing men from within their respective national armies. And it is the capability that is available to each of the national armies that is also going to be the driving force for whatever they are able to achieve together.
Dr. Oyewole Ojawale of the Institute for Security Studies. And in sport news, FIFA is set to boost prize money for the upcoming expanded FIFA World Cup, reflecting the competition's growing global reach and commercial power. Under the current plan, each of the 48 teams would earn at least $10.5 million, with the winners taking home $50 million, but those figures are expected to rise. The increase is driven by projected revenues of over $11 billion, fueled by expanded participation, stronger broadcast deals, and global sponsorships. While final amounts are yet to be confirmed, FIFA is signaling a bigger financial reward for teams at every level of the tournament. And we've come to the end of this edition of Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM in Dakar and online at wadr.org. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Ismaila Kamara and Maudo Juf for the technical support. Let's keep the conversation coming on all of our social media platforms: TikTok, X, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook at WADR English. And we're also streaming live at wadr.org. I am Imo Edet. Good afternoon.
We thank you for listening to Newslink in Nigeria on Love FM Abuja and Darling FM Owerri. In the Gambia on Hot FM Banjul, Hilltop FM and Veritas Radio in Serekunda. Thank you for listening on Alternative Youth Radio Lofa County, Liberia, Radio Kegaman in Nimba County, and DCN Radio Riverses County. A big thank you to Radio Baft FM in Sierra Leone for listening, and in Ghana we thank Radio Pad in Damango and Royals FM in Wenchi. Thank you all for listening